in collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up this week, the Economist's 10th Cyprus Summit on restoring confidence in Europe and reinventing Cyprus. It took place this week and was addressed by party leaders, including Averof Neophytou of DC.
The solution of the Cyprus problem can prove beneficial not only to the people of Cyprus, but it can also prove beneficial to the peoples of all the countries in the Eastern Mediterranean region, including Turkey.
And Nikolas Papadopoulos from Diko.
Ever since 1974, we've been trying, without success, to reunite our country, to reunite our people, to reunite our island. And the main reason for this failure, I believe, is simple. We have a different vision, a different goal as regards to Turkey, what the solution to the Cyprus problem should be.
Finance Minister Haris Georgiadis gives an exclusive interview to the Cyprus News Digest on the sidelines of the summit.
On the substance, I do think that we should stay firm on this course because, very simply, it's delivering. Even though we are barely a year and a half into the effort, are seeing early results, so we should have the confidence to continue, aware that it's actually a difficult path, but one which is bringing the Cypriot economy back on recovery.
And for the first time ever, UNFICYP has a female force commander.
In a conflict, if it's an armed conflict, there's no winners, in my view. I think everybody loses. That's why I was saying that, if you have to use a weapon in a way, then we have lost. Because then we have to use that type of tool that should be the last resort.
A high-powered conference took place on Tuesday in Nicosia, organised by The Economist. The 10th Cyprus Summit was titled Restoring Confidence in Europe, Reinventing Cyprus. There were speakers from across the globe, including the President of the Republic and indeed from the United States, Nicholas Burns, former US Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs. One of the panels included three leaders of Cypriot political parties: Averof Neophytou, President of DC, Andros Kyprianou from AKEL, and Nikolas Papadopoulos from Diko. They were asked to speak on looking into the Cyprus issue, a glimmer of hope. This is what Averof Neophytou had to say.
I have a vision for my country, a vision of a united, prosperous island, a country that allows its people to thrive, living in peace, security and prosperity. But big visions do not fit in divided countries. But as we all know, it takes two to tango. For this vision to become a reality, Turkey needs to back its rhetoric with constructive actions. In order for the negotiations to continue and be successful, in order to realize our vision, all sides must tangibly demonstrate the same kind of commitment and determination for resolving the Cyprus issue. Dear guests, despite the negative developments and the various obstacles in the negotiation process, we still see a glimmer of hope in the horizon. The geopolitical changes around us reinforce our will for a solution to reunite our divided island. And a resolved Cyprus problem has no place in the modern world. It benefits no one. On the contrary, it creates costs for all sides including Turkey. The European Union is interested now more than ever for the energy security of the Union. Recent events in Ukraine have demonstrated that energy security is of vital importance, and Europe is eager for alternative energy resources. Furthermore, we know the necessity for stability in the region of the Eastern Mediterranean, a region plagued with different levels of unrest and instability, a region devastated by conflict in Syria, an advancing Islamic State, and political instability in a number of countries. The Arab Spring is turning into an Arab winter, threatening to spread chaos in the entire Middle East. These developments in our neighborhood have increased the need for a stability pillar in the region. Cyprus can become this reliable and credible pillar of stability in the Eastern Mediterranean. A reunited Cyprus can further serve this role and become the link between the European Union and the whole southeastern Mediterranean and Middle East. The hydrocarbon reserves of Cyprus and of the whole Eastern Mediterranean region can substantially contribute to the energy security of the European Union. A reunited Cyprus, member of the European Union, can greatly contribute towards achieving this goal. A reunited Cyprus can be the credible pillar for political and economic stability in the region. The Greek Cypriot side remains deeply committed in achieving a lasting, functional and viable solution that will lead to the reunification of Cyprus in accordance with the international law, UN Security Council resolutions and European values, principles and European law. The negotiations must be allowed to continue away from conditions of blackmail. It is not the time for over-optimism or over-pessimism. It is a time for visionary realism and strategy. These island people, Greek Cypriots, Turkish Cypriots, Maronite, Romanians and Latins, deserve so much more than a division that deprives them of their full potential. And we do have great potential. The solution of the Cyprus problem can prove beneficial not only to the people of Cyprus, but it can also prove beneficial to the peoples of all the countries in the Eastern Mediterranean region, including Turkey.
Andros Kyprianou spoke in Greek, but Nikolas Papadopoulos then took the stand for the Diko Democratic Party.
Ever since 1974, we've been trying, without success, to reunite our country, to reunite our people, to reunite our island. And the main reason for this failure, I believe, is simple. We have a different vision, as a different goal, as regards to Turkey, what the solution to the Cyprus problem should be, what our future should be on this island. It is our hope as Greek Cypriot that in the future we'll be able to live together with our Turkish Cypriot counterparts in a reunified country under a single sovereign state that will be governed by zonal, by communal federation. We look forward to unifying the people and the economy, unifying the territory and the resources of the island to the benefit of all Cypriots, without having to burden ourselves with foreign interventions and influences. This is our dream. Turkey, on the other hand, has a very different vision. From 1974 to this day, they have been pursuing a policy of ethnic cleansing in Cyprus. They do not care and they do not concern themselves of what the Turkish Cypriots want, only with what Turkey wants, and they are not the same thing. As a result of Turkish policies, the majority of Turkish Cypriots have left Cyprus since 1974, and they have been replaced by settlers that have been specifically brought onto the island with a clear intention to change its demographics. In this context of ethnic cleansing, they have never stopped pursuing a two-state solution to the Cyprus problem. They have never stopped pursuing partition, where the two people and the two states, as they call them, will be separated. But of course they intend to retain total control of the island by and through a system of guarantees and a system of direct and indirect vetoes. In other words, they wish to be the absolute masters of the north and equal partners in the south. For Turkey, Cyprus has very little to do with what the Turkish Cypriot community wants. It has everything to do with what Turkey believes is their goal of attaining hegemony in the region. It is indicative that Mr. Erdogan, the Prime Minister of Turkey, started his tenure a few years back stating that he will pursue a policy of zero problems with Turkey's neighbors. Today there isn't a single neighbor with which Turkey doesn't have a problem. Israel, Egypt, Greece, and even Saudi Arabia have all felt what it means not to be part of the Turkish plans. Of course, we do acknowledge that there are dramatic developments in the region. The Middle East is in turmoil and will probably never be the same again once these developments are brought to a conclusion. And Turkey has seen the potential to emerge out of this development as the new dominating force in the Muslim world. As a result, Turkey has consistently and increasingly acted as a destabilizing force in a very troubled region. But of course, our discussion today is about hope, the glimmer of hope in solving the problem. As I said in the beginning, despite Turkey's intentions, despite Turkey's plan, we, as Greek Cypriots, have been striving to reach a solution to the Cyprus problem that will safeguard all Cypriots and reunite the country, safeguard our common future. We believe that our membership in the European Union gives us this potential, as well as the potential of exploitation of the natural gas reserves to the south of the island. These two factors provide two very powerful incentives to assist us in resolving this long-lasting problem. Turkey, after all, wishes to join the European Union. Therefore, a solution to the Cyprus problem is to Turkey's advantage. And we have already and repeatedly stated that a solution to the Cyprus problem will allow the Turkish Cypriots to share in the benefits from the natural gas, and therefore a solution will also act to their benefit. This is the glimmer of hope that we see. Turkey, however, has other plans. Turkey wishes to eliminate these two factors from the equation. They do not want the European Union factor or the natural gas to be in the equation of solving the Cyprus problem. This is why they refuse to recognize us, despite the European Union's directive to do so. This is why now they have begun, in a way that contravenes international law and the law of the sea, to infringe upon our sovereign rights and dispute our right to exploit our natural resources in the midst of the international efforts against ISIS in the Middle East. Turkey instead has chosen to disregard the international community, and they have refused to help them, but instead have concentrated their efforts on their ill-gotten Cypriot gains. Unlike Turkey, Cyprus has concluded agreements with all our neighbors. Israel, Egypt, and Lebanon, we have elimination agreements with all of them for the exploitation of the natural gas. We have been acting as a stabilizing force in the region. We have coordinated these countries, and these are not the easiest of countries to get to work together. We have worked together for a common and profitable future for all our peoples. Turkey wants to dissolve this future. I wish to conclude with a final point. We believe that it's in the best interests of the European Union to stop this latest Turkish aggression. Because at this point, Europe is worried about its dependency on Russian energy, especially natural gas. They see that Turkey is now heavily involved in the Southern Corridor project, with which they intend to bring to Europe the natural gas reserves of Azerbaijan. And as Turkey has publicly declared, they wish to control the Eastern Mediterranean natural gas reserves as well, to turn the Eastern Mediterranean into a Turkish lake. Their words, not mine. So I submit, put the question, will it be in the interest of the European Union to replace the dependence on Russian energy with the dependence on Turkey? Do we wish to see in the future Turkey controlling 2/3 of the natural gas imports into the European Union, controlled by a country that has shown to have acted in a destabilizing manner in a very troubled region? Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that it is in the best interest of the European Union to assist us to reach a solution, and a stable, Cypriot, single, sovereign state can help provide alternative sources of energy to the European region. In conclusion, I say that many people believe that energy is the most valuable resource on the planet. As Cypriots, we have strived to use the energy potential to help solve a long-lasting problem, to correct a long-lasting injustice, and to unite a small country that should never have been divided, so that Cyprus can be a valuable partner in the pursuit of a common European dream. We will continue this effort. We will continue with our struggle. We shall pursue our dream of a free and united Cyprus, no matter what obstacles are placed before us, because for us, the most valuable resource is peace, and that is what we are truly looking for.
One of the early discussions was entitled Restoring Confidence in Cyprus, Thinking Beyond the Crisis. On the panel were Klaus Regling, Managing Director of the European Stability Mechanism, and Finance Minister of Cyprus, Haris Georgiadis. After the discussion, I spoke to Haris Georgiadis. You were talking very much about after the crisis, but you were very, very firm about how we must stay on the road we've started. What sort of help do conferences like this give you when you say things like that and say we mustn't be populist? It's a very unusual comment for a politician in Cyprus.
Yes, first of all, I mean, on the substance, I do think that we should stay firm on this course because, very simply, it's delivering. Even though we are barely a year and a half into the effort, are seeing early results, so we should have the confidence to continue, aware that it's actually a difficult path, but one which is bringing the Cypriot economy back on recovery. And yes, we should have the political discipline also, and I have no hesitation conveying the message publicly that we should not necessarily follow the easy course, but most probably the difficult one, knowing, however, that this is delivering.
The foreclosures issue is something that was covered quite extensively in the morning session, and that seems to be the thorn, if you like, in the ointment. How is the government going to get over this and persuade the other political parties to also stop being populist? We've got elections in the not-too-distant future, and those of us who've been here a long time can see exactly the way that this is going, and it could end up stymieing all the work that's been done so far, couldn't it?
Let me say that overall I'm very satisfied about the responsible manner in which the majority, at least, of the parliament and of the political spectrum has been behaving during these difficult times. This is something which is recognized by all those who are watching us from overseas, and it's because of this responsible attitude, not only of the government but also of the parties, which we have been able to implement the program without any delays, without any hesitations, and in a manner which is enabling us today to see the early results. It is, however, probably inevitable that in the implementation of such a demanding, ambitious program, there will be an issue or two where there will be political disagreements. I hope and I am confident that we shall be able to manage these political disagreements responsibly, and that we shall be able to take final decisions working together in a manner which will avoid the creation of new deadlocks for us, basically, and in a way which is damaging to ourselves and to no one else. So I am hopeful and optimistic that we shall find a way to clarify the situation in a manner that will not be creating additional problems.
Okay, later in the week you've got, I think, a Eurogroup meeting. That is going to be when we hear whether or not the next tranche will be released. What are you going to be telling them? And dare I ask, what happens if it doesn't come up to their expectations?
I will be saying that we have done everything that was expected from us, that we have fulfilled all prior actions, all obligations so far. I will also explain that the economy as a whole is in fact overperforming, that on the fiscal side we have exceeded all targets and all assumptions, that in the banking sector the stress test outcome was a very positive outcome without any requirements which are difficult to manage, and that on the front of reform the effort continues. So I will be explaining that we have done everything that was expected of us, and that consequently the program is on track, and consequently the financing element of the program should also be re-established. Our budgetary planning is much more prudent than in the past, and to an extent revenues are covering expenditure. However, there is also the issue of debt maturities, and obviously we should be able to refinance debt maturities also. So it's not an issue of money running out imminently, but it is more of an issue of re-establishing fully and effectively the program, which will be important in our effort to establish confidence and be able to finance our needs eventually from the markets.
Cyprus Finance Minister Haris Georgiadis. This is the Cyprus News Digest. Don't forget you can reach us through the Cyprus Mail website. You can hear us on FM on Napa Radio, and if you've missed it, you can always download it from iTunes, or indeed get an RSS feed from cyprusmail-libsyn.com. The first woman ever to command a United Nations peacekeeping operation is Norway's Major General Kristin Lund. She joins us on the Cyprus News Digest. Kristin, first of all, congratulations, because you've broken what's been a glass ceiling, I think, for a very long time.
First of all, thank you very much. Yes, it seems that I've done that since I'm the first, but it's a nice ceiling to break.
You've been in the army for many years now, and obviously things have changed over those years. Do you think it is now easier for women in the services across the world to actually move on up higher?
I think it's absolutely easier now, and thanks also to what has been done by UN with the Security Resolution 1325 that started, I think, that at least some big organizations like UN, NATO, EU and others to focus on women in conflict.
And they bring something very different, don't they, to conflict? That's what I really want to talk to you about, is how you feel a woman's influence. Let's start with just generally in the army. Having a female force commander, does that have, what sort of impact does that have on the male soldiers?
Well, you should ask them, but from my point of view, I think that, we are all different, but I represent 50% of the population, and so why shouldn't we also be in those occupations that are normally being there, or men have had them for a long time. But I think also the importance now that the military as such are, in a way, the last tool a government have, but we should also, in a way, reflect the society. So that's why I think it's important. I think we can also reach out, because when we are in a conflict area, the population in the conflict area consists of 50% women, and very often the women have always been looked at as a victim, instead of starting to look at the women also as a resource to try to solve conflicts.
Okay, but what I was meaning about the men soldiers was whether or not you think women have a civilizing influence, if you like, on them.
I think that I have other thoughts than some of my male counterparts. I think also that because we, as a woman, we are used to have so many things, so many, we say, balls in the air. So I think that maybe sometimes it's easier for us to have a more holistic approach to what we are doing, because we are used to have so many things going, and that can be helpful when you are making decisions, that you have to look on things from different angles that maybe has not been done before, or looked at that angle. And so I think that is something vital that we bring to the table.
You've served in Bosnia, in Afghanistan, in the Lebanon. Over the years, conflicts have changed, and there does seem to be, particularly, of course, in UN peacekeeping forces, a different approach to conflict resolution.
Yes, and thank for that, in the way that they have started to look at not only, one segment, but they have started to look on different segments. Because if you want to do something in a country, you should activate all the layers in a country. That means both men and women. And another thing is that with my experience from international operations, is that very often women are the ones to raise the children, and if you don't approach them that are actually bringing up the next generation, I think it's a very important segment, even for the military, to take that into account when we are doing things, that how these operations are kind of have an impact on the society. And we know that war has a different impact on men and women very often, not always, but often.
You're on record, I think, as saying, particularly after serving in the Lebanon, that maybe the most important weapon that you have is communication and to build relations. Now, that's obviously very pertinent when you're serving in the UN, but a lot of people might be surprised that it comes from somebody who spent a career in the army.
Yeah, but that's also my experience, because I think, in a way, in a conflict, if it's an armed conflict, there's no winners, in my view. I think everybody loses. That's why I'm saying that, if you have to use a weapon, in a way, then we have lost. Because then we have to use that type of tool that should be the last resort. So that's why I think it's so important that when you can use and build trust between partners, or between your force and other segments in the society, I think that it's vital. And also let know that when we are sent, and when we send, like us here, or whatever nations are sending UN troops or other, we are actually sending us, and we are willing to give our life for something that is far away from our country. And sometimes that's why I think it's so important to use the mouth as your weapon, because I think that is the most important tool.
Now, you've been in Cyprus a couple of months now.
Yeah.
What are your hopes for your tenure here?
I hope that, that we will find a solution. And I say we, but I mean, of course, the two most important is the South and the North. They really need to do this. I feel that my job here as a force commander is, in a way, to facilitate my head of mission, so she can make her work. And of course, I also said that I would like that people talk to each other, because if you find a solution, it's so important that things have been been pre-planned, or that people know each other, what they can expect, and have that trust among each other.
And what role will UNFICYP play in that?
From my point of view as a force commander, I think that I'm already talking on the military side on both sides, but I think it would be worthwhile for my goal that the military counterparts, in a way, talk to each other.
And interesting that you mentioned Lisa Buttenheim, not by name, but she is the head of mission. So 2 ladies in charge. And again, when you're communicating with her, does the fact that you're the same gender actually give you a little bit more rapport?
I think that the good thing is that I'm coming from a total different background, so we have. I think the good thing is that we have also different angles of looking at things. But I think also, like, very often I have that respect for her expertise, and she got that from me. So I think we are a good team with her diplomatic skills and my kind of military background. I think that it's good, and it's also easy for me to. Some of her experience, I can really identify myself with her experience, because I know also in the diplomatic world is also being some challenges for the people. So we have a kind of common ground, and very often if you have some common ground, you know that cooperation and things are much easier.
Where do you go from here? You've achieved so much in your career. I mean, is this your final posting? You've got a few years left yet, haven't you? How long will you be in Cyprus, and what are you hoping after you leave here? Will you stay with the UN?
Well, first of all, I hope to stay a couple of years. I mean, it takes just 1 year to get in to know, because there are so many layers, and so so that takes time. But I don't know, in a way, when I can come back. I know that I'm very happy to be here, and I know I have a couple of years when I come back. But I have reached my goals.
So no ambitions left.
Well, it also, you never know what can come up. I always been very fond of UN, because I really believe in UN, and that's why I'm here, because I told my chief of defense in Norway some 5 years ago that I would like, before I retire, to have one more deployment, and especially in UN, because I think that there is something to it with the UN family, for the good and the worse. There's a lot of challenges, but I think that's what I like. And I got it, so that was great. But I will see. It's hard to tell, Now I'm concentrated on the job here. I haven't started to look what I would like to do next. So now I have more than enough here. So that's my focus.
Kristin Lund, Force Commander of UNFICYP, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.